the sidewalks, and you could hear them talking. You could hear these Germans. We're all sitting there. Then once in a while, another airplane would come in. And the walls would jiggle. I remember sitting there. We sat there for 4 whole days with absolutely nothing to do. And these planes kept roaring in. And in came a glider group, a glider division that had gotten badly cut up, by the way, in the jump over the Rhine. You can wow, wow, wow. It was the 17th glider. Yeah, that's right. They came roaring in. And one of the planes crash landed. She came in and blow, and the smoke flying up. We just looked down. Nobody said anything. And all the while, you could hear these German voices all around. And Yank magazine all of a sudden became very had no relationship to our world anymore. You could see guys once in a while. You see a guy walking around carrying something like the Saturday Evening Post or the Daily News. We're hearing newscasts on. Guys are saying, "Yep, it looks like the Yankees once again are going to." It's all suddenly all drifting back in. And a peculiar resentment began to build up. Very strange kind of a disorientation. Must be vaguely like some kind of a reaction to an extended hospital stay when you've come through a peculiar kind of nightmarish, strange, involuted, delirious time, and suddenly you're back in it. You can't quite make contact, and you kind of resent people who were well, You're bugged that all these guys were going to ball games and everything. Here you are. And so everybody's kind of milling around. And Zinsmeister says, let's get on to the PX. I was about to have an experience which I will never forget. And so me and Gasser and Edwards and Zinsmeister go down to the PX. Now, the PX in the separation center was very different from any other PX I ever saw. They had wild stuff like you could buy checkered Tattersall vests, made out of Kleenex. They had wild stuff. Some of the stuff I wish I had bought now. I'd love to have had. I wish now that I had a pillow, this big red, white, and blue pillow, and it said "Souvenir of Fort Dix Separation Center." I would love to have that. I'd like to have that hanging in my office, with the gold fringe all over the thing. So we're in there hanging around. We have our Milky Ways, and we drank a couple of bottles of that GI beer, which really, a GI beer made water look angry. And so we had a couple of bottles of GI beer, and on top of that, I had a milkshake. That moment. You go through those periods when you just you're at loose ends. It's a great phrase, loose ends. And so I had a big milkshake, and I had a couple of bottles of beer. And then I went up and had a cheeseburger. A big cheeseburger, and I had a Milky Way, and then I fooled around a little bit, and Zinsmeister's eating stuff, and Gasser's eating stuff. Somebody says, let's get in some Baby Ruth to take back. So, okay, we went over and bought a couple of Baby Ruth bars and stuck them in our pocket, and I ate half of one, and went back up again, and I had the tuna sandwich, and you just fooled around. You got nothing to do. You're just eating and scoffing away, and all the while, the German POWs are walking around, making the scene, by the way, with the chicks. Something about the Africa Corps really really got to the chicks. We were just GIs, They were exotic. See? And that bugged a couple of guys. They said, "Hey, Heine, hey, get away from that chick, Heine." And the girl gives him a dirty look. And the German didn't know what he was saying. He just sort of backed away. He could tell that look of the angry mortar platoon, PFC. There's a certain look. And so it just went on and on. And then Zinsmeister, who was in our little group, he was the man in our group. He was grown up. He had a wife and all that stuff. All the rest of us, we were just, we were always asking him about Zinsmeister. How does it feel to be married? And he'd say, well, So no, what is it? How's it feel? He was the guy that experienced everything. We were just living along. And so Zinsmeister walks up to the counter, and he says, I'll have, how about half a dozen of those white owls? And he got half a dozen, big fat, the big 7th Avenue type cigar. The kind that comes in a shoulder holster, and it's got climbing irons on it and all that. You know the kind, the big fat, the obscene-looking cigar, really tough-looking cigar, the big band on it and that big owl looking out. And so Zinsmeister comes back, and he's got a handful of them. He must have had 7 or 8 of these cigars, and he passed them around. He says, here, have a cigar, Gas. The guy says, no, I never smoke. And so he says, here, Shep, have a cigar. So I said, yeah, I'll take a cigar. I never smoked in my life, you know. Maybe 2 cigarettes all of my life I'd ever smoked. But we're getting out. It's all celebration, the whole bit. And, you know, you're always drawn to these things. And so Zinsmeister, he lights up, you know, looks very contented. Oh, boy. You know that thing, they roll them up, you know, a little bit, and they run around their mouth, and they take the match, and they hold it about a half-inch below the cigar, and it flares up, and that purple smoke drifts around. And so I said, well, okay. And I says, here, got any matches, Carl? And he says, yeah. And so he gives me, I couldn't light it. You know, I'm puffing away at this thing. It won't light. He says, well, bite the end off. Light it off. I said, oh, you got to bite the end off. Oh, I see. So he says, here, I'll show you. And so he shows me how he bit the end off. So I go, you know, I bite the end off this thing, and, ooh, boy, this comes through, you know. And, ooh, boy, it clears your sinuses and everything, just like that. And your eyeballs start to water. And all the GIs, there must have been 500 GIs all sitting around, living the life of Riley, and they're all smoking cigars. And they've got the ruptured ducts and the whole bit, you know. They're all on their way out. And the Germans are walking around. And once in a while, they say, hey, Heine, beer. Hein the beer. Wow, ein beer, schnell. Mach schnell, Heine. That was a typical GI phrase. Mach schnell, Heine beer. And then he'd come over, and the guy, the poor waiter, who probably been a first lieutenant in some fantastic outfit, he would come over and he'd lay the beer down. And the guy would put his foot out, you know, get him right in the tailbone. Say, Mach schnell, Heine, whoop! And he'd kick him. He'd say, I had a beer all around here, Heine. Ach, du lieber Augustine, yada. Obscenities. Well, I started to puff that cigar. Well, I must have puffed about 3 solid puffs when I suddenly became aware that the PX was rising into the air. Just like that, it was beginning to slowly go up in the air. And I had this choking, I had to get out. I absolutely had to get out into the fresh air, or I'd go. Have you ever had that scene where you've just got to get out? You've got to get out. All of a sudden, the sweat is popping out, and I felt this thing coming up from underneath me. It was like 4 years of gut sickness was coming up all at once. The whole thing, the excitement of getting out, the whole business. And I ran to the front door, you know, and there I am. The crowd of GIs is coming in. There's a crowd going out. The Heinies are all over. I run to the front door, and I'll tell you, I laid stuff all over the company area. I'm telling you stuff that frankly, there was a little piece of birthday cake that came up for my 7th birthday. It was fantastic. Had a little egg on it. It's a 7. Holy smokes. I'll tell you, and that night, I went back to the sack, and I laid there, and the entire camp revolved around me with the B-17s coming in and the Heinies walking around, and I could hear the GIs, Heine, Mach schnell, Heine. Then I'd hear the sound of a fist crunching. An 82nd Airborne was hitting his corporal in the mouth. Oh, what a night. Speaking of getting on the stick here, I better get on. We've got Rover 2000 with us, friends. And what can I tell you about it except that it's a great car? And if you're planning to make the pop for a real automobile, send us a car to Rover here, and we'll send you pictures. And speaking of pictures, think how magnificent tomorrow you'll look wearing a 4-minute pucker, courtesy of Regal Crown and their superb sour grapes. And anybody who stayed through my show tonight knows about sour grapes. And, oh, by the way, listen, call the Limelight right now at Oregon 52212 if you want reservations for this Saturday. Wow.
Okay. Both these shows I'm playing are from 1966. This was 8th of September of that year. And next, and this will probably be the final thing I put on, from my Christmas Eve of 1966. Long John Neville. Now, I'm not really familiar with this one. I've never heard this one before, or not that I know of anyway. So, excuse me. So this is a guess and see what this is about. And just like you, I might like this thing and I don't know, but hey, give it a listen. can't hurt. And if it sucks, well, then I'll just get rid of it from the hard disk. Okay, 14 December 1966, Long John Neville, Gene Shepherd Show. And here we go.
Bye.
Hello.
Yeah, Shep, you're quite a fan of Robert Service, correct?
Well, I enjoy reading his poetry.
I have an LP that was made perhaps 8 years ago with Stuart Hamblin. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, it's a terrible album.
Oh, you don't like it?
No, I think that he reads. I think he hoax up the poetry.
Oh, really? I didn't know whether you'd heard of it or not.
Yes, I don't like it at all.
Oh.
I think I read it much better than he does.
Yeah, I think you read it very well, but what about his background music and so forth? Do you like that?
Not particularly. I think it's corny.
Will you tell me what the fantastic QRM is on OR, heterodyning, or whatever it is?
I have no idea. That must be some local condition around your
every
neighborhood.
once in a while, and it's almost impossible.
You have it on the phone right now.
No.
I said you do.
No, it's much louder than that.
No, but I can hear it on
I
the
can
phone
hear it.
now.
It's buzzing now on your phone.
You're talking about my voice.
No.
No, I'm not talking about your voice. I'm talking about some type of...
QRM.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not on NBC. It's on OR.
No, it's on you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye. Hello.
Long John?
Yes, sir.
Gene, I have a few comments and a question. Number one, Teaser the Cops used to be pretty popular in Brooklyn around the 30s. And have you ever heard of it used there?
I presume it was. It had to be popular somewhere. I always used to see it in comic strips. I never heard it in life, though.
Oh, yeah, we used to use it pretty often.
You play stickball out there, too?
What's that?
Did you play stickball in Brooklyn?
That's right.
That's where you heard it, right?
Right.
When the cops were coming, right?
You know, stickball was never played in Chicago.
No.
Oh, no?
No.
Oh, well, that was a poor man's game, you know.
How many sewers could you hit?
At least 1.5, maybe
Okay,
2.
thanks.
And punch ball.
Off the stoop?
What's that?
Off the stoop.
And stoop ball, yeah.
Hit the penny.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I'm calling from the...
He's authentic.
Jersey.
He's all right. He's not a German agent.
What's your question, sir?
Okay, question. How do the people in Hammond, Indiana, reconcile Calumet City right next door?
Well, Calumet City has changed a great deal. As a matter of fact, the old Calumet City, which was a hotbed of sin and vice and whatnot, has since become a middle-class, very respectable neighborhood. Did you know that?
No.
It's changed drastically.
I'll be darned.
And incidentally, you understand that reconciling Calumet City, the reason Calumet City was what it was over the state line. The people in Indiana couldn't do anything about it. It was in Illinois.
Yeah, but I mean, how could the people in Indiana look at all, buy all that whiskey and not try to change the situation in Indiana, you know?
Well, they did.
It went wet?
Well, I think you'll find that Indiana's changed. How long has it been since you've been out there?
Oh, about 5 years.
Well, things have changed drastically.
One more question, if I may. Some time ago, you had a program about keeping records on people, through computers, and the fact that when a person made a mistake, if he had a record that would be held against him. Do you see a tendency towards this more and more now with, dropouts and what have you, and a danger here? You get the feeling that people are not making it really on their own. You have to follow a pattern, formula, school, college, et cetera. The old days, when I was a youngster, I never felt really that I was licked, Today I get the feeling that the teenagers, if they don't go to the right schools, they feel defeated. You think this is good?